Welcome to the Christmas special of 2022 of the Filmmaker Film Watcher podcast. I'm filmmaker Richard Di Gregorio.
And I am film watcher Greg Rowan.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah.
So here we're going to talk about some really interesting films tonight.
And you know that I always think that interesting is an interesting choice of word. But before we get into the films, you know that I like to, and now you're kind of used to me bringing some kind of Christmas thing along.
Oh, absolutely. So in the past, I look forward to that.
Yeah, in the past we've had Christmas crackers and party whistles or something.
That's
I
right.
think. And I was seriously tempted. I've got these glitter guns from New Year's Eve a few years ago that I'm dying to use until you told me that we'd be recording at my place, not yours. And I thought,
you weren't...
I can't be doing vacuuming at Christmas,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
there we go. Thank you for...
So instead, and last year I remember, I had a little ho-ho-ho Santa and a tinkly little bell to let you know when you were going in the right direction or off the rails in terms of things.
That's right, I remember that. Yes, I remember that, yeah.
That almost ended our friendship. Well... and this podcast. Yeah. So this time, because we're on the tail end of 3 tiring years, I wanted to bring a little bit of Christmas spirit into our podcast.
Oh, that's nice. Yes.
So I've gone out, I bought some jingle bells.
Oh, nice.
Surprised you to hear these when I was sitting down. So every now and then when I feel like, you know, we're getting a bit boring, I know it's never happened before.
No, we never get
and
boring.
When we do, it's usually edited out anyway. But also, if I feel like we're on something, I'm just not feeling Christmassy enough.
Yeah, lovely. So that's great. It'll bring the Christmas spirit into the films, in case the films don't bring the Christmas spirit. How's that?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So tell us about these holy fantastic films.
Well, you know, every Christmas we try and choose new Christmas films that we think may or may not, but bring the Christmas spirit. You know,
new and classic.
Yeah, new and classic, absolutely. So the first film we're going to be discussing is a classic, 1940s, The Shop Around the Corner.
Then we're going to go on to something a little bit more modern, which is Chevy Chase's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation from 1989.
Yes, that's right. And then we're going to go into a Canadian classic.
A French-Canadian.
French-Canadian classic, My Uncle Antoine from 1971.
Yes, this was our attempt to get away from only doing Hollywood American films.
That's right. Well, it's good to do that. Just look at all these, films which are outside of that sphere, which is good.
Bien.
Huh?
C'est très bien.
Yeah. Okay, so Greg, kick it off with The Shop Around the Corner.
A man and a woman can't stand each other in their workaday lives, but they are each in love with an unknown pen pal who truly understands their soul, not knowing, of course, that they are each other's dear friend and most infuriating colleague. And then he finds out who she is, but doesn't let on. Eventually, all is revealed, and they all live happily ever after at Christmas. Now, if that plot sounds familiar, it may be that you're thinking of Nora Ephron's 1998 film, You've Got Mail, with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. But in fact, that film was a remake of this 1940 Christmas classic directed by Ernst Lubitsch, as were 2 subsequent musicals, 1949's In the Good Old Summertime with Judy Garland and Van Johnson, and an occasionally revived 1963 stage musical called She Loves Me. And all of these were based on a play called Parfumerie. In this film, gift shop owner Hugo Madacek, Frank Morgan, 1 year after his performance as 1939's Wizard of Oz, runs a mostly happy little band in Budapest. His team is led by Alfred Kralik, James Stewart, and they are soon joined by Clara Novak, Margaret Sullivan, who demonstrates her sales chops by successfully rebranding a men's musical cigar box as a candy box that reminds ladies that it shouldn't be opened for snacking. It's a charming enough little story with a keen eye for group dynamics within such a small team. It also has some interesting moments that convey emotion. Clara's gloved hand, searching for an envelope in her postbox, and then conveying disappointment once she realises that she don't got mail. And a scene near the end which feels truly Christmassy, as Hugo comes perilously close to not having a Christmas dinner companion, but then is redeemed. For me, this is a slight film that's well acted by a well-rounded cast, But not much more than that, even though it's darker than You've Got Mail, covering themes of adultery and attempted suicide. The day after watching it, I realised how very male-centred this film is. Although Clara is a feisty character, she's actually not a very nice person, and at times quite rude. Although there's an excuse provided later for her behaviour, it doesn't particularly convince. And the other female characters are almost invisible against the men, and Hugo's wife is only encountered second-hand. The story may have benefited from that well-worn rom-com device of the gal pal, through whom Clara could reveal more of her soul, as is done for Alfred through his friend Purovich, a scene-stealing performance by Felix Bressett. Ricardo, how did this film go for you?
I'm in agreement with you here. I really liked it. I thought it was quite witty. I liked the script. I thought it was really well written.
There were some laugh-out-loud moments.
There were. And I think... Jimmy Stewart is always great. I mean, he's such a presence on screen. But I agree with you with the relationship dimensions here, because they went too far with them not liking each other. I think they went really far with that, to the point where you went, actually, they're not right for each other. Yeah, they actually don't get along in their everyday life. And through the film, I was waiting for them to sort of not yell at each other or call each other names and whatnot. I was waiting for this, but then it sort of got to the end and they suddenly, we're together.
Let's go have Christmas dinner together.
You know, and I just found that was, the gradual, falling in love or finding attraction to her or from her to him, it just wasn't slow enough. Like it just happened too quickly.
It works better in You've Got Mail.
Oh, it does. It does much
they're
better.
More equals.
Yeah, they are. But I agree that Margaret Sullivan's performance, she's so selfish. She's not a great character.
No.
I didn't warm to her at all. I just found her quite odd and quite just selfish, and just, I didn't warm to her.
The only time she's nice to Jimmy Stewart is when she wants something, which is to get off early to go and meet her dear friend, not knowing it's him.
That's right.
But she's very nice to him until she doesn't get away, and then she's all petulant again.
Well, that scene where she says, "By the way, I was falling for you all those times for weeks, and you could have swept me off my feet." I just didn't believe that.
No.
At all.
No.
So that's a problem, right, with the film. Even though I was really quite enjoying it, I think Felix Bressett's performance was scene stealing. He was phenomenal in it. I just wanted him to come back on screen all the time. And I loved seeing Frank Morgan as somebody other than the Wizard in The Wizard of Oz. But I think there's a drinking game in this film.
Oh, no, really?
Yes, there is a drinking game.
Oh, let me see if I can guess.
What can you say?
No, I can't.
You should, because the amount of times they say, "Yes, Mr. Majacek," "Yes, Mr. Majacek," every time they say Majacek, you take a drink. They say it so many times.
Yeah.
"Yes, Mr. Majacek. Mr. Majacek. Mr. Majacek. Mr. Majacek."
But I think that was the culture. Like, the opening scenes of it are very good. Before Clara arrives, when everyone except Mr. Matacek, drink, is waiting outside the shop, and you get a sense of the pecking order by the way they're all kind of mingling outside the shop, just standing there.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, in some ways, those little scenes, because they happen twice, are the most revelatory of what you see, because the second time around, you start to realise that Vadas, played by Joseph Schildkraut, who's the playboy kind of lover figure, you know there's something going on, and then you start to put the pieces together to realise what's really going on. I don't want to spoil the film. So I thought those parts worked really well, and I can understand that some people would say this is a really treasured Christmas film, and I respect that. It just didn't quite get there for me.
Well, it's good. It has the Christmas sort of spirit in it. It's set at Christmas, and they do the Christmas shopping and all the rest of it. That makes me feel like there's a bit of Christmassy.
The Christmassy moment was when Mr. Matacek's about trying to hint that he's got no one to have Christmas dinner with.
Yes.
And everyone's got family plans, and then the new postboy, whatever he is,
that's
the
right,
delivery guy, Rudy.
Yes.
Hasn't got anything to do, and then the two of them go off arm in arm.
Well, it was the Scrooge moment. It's the Scrooge moment. It's the Scrooge at the end. It's the Scrooge moment where suddenly he's found life again, and he wants to, have him for dinner.
But he almost doesn't get it, and then he does, and it just
that's lovely.
Fits beautifully.
Yeah, that is lovely. One performance I really didn't like was the performance of Pepe, the guy who played Pepe, the delivery boy.
Why was that?
Well, he was just so over the top. I think a lot of the performances were actually quite naturalistic. For the time, they were not overacting, but he was really hamming it up quite a lot.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a bad amateur performance.
Yeah, no, I did pick up on that.
Yeah.
And did you pick up on the fact that the other two women on the shop staff really didn't have much to do at
No,
all?
they didn't have anything to do, really.
And they could have been stronger characters.
Yeah, they could have been.
Well and truly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, it was it definitely wasn't the worst film I've seen. I quite enjoyed it, and I thought there were some really quite witty moments in there.
Yeah, I agree. It needed a bit more Christmas.
Yes. But ultimately, like, it at least evoked some Christmas feel.
Yeah, I agree.
And gave me some laughs and
So
some
out of
good
10
performance.
for you?
I'm giving it a 6.
So am I, actually.
Yeah, a 6 out of 10. Look, I know it's seen as a classic. I don't think there's better films of the time. I've seen much better.
Life. It's not Miracle on 34th Street.
No, definitely not. No, and I think the remake was better.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, moving right along to 1989's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Why don't you tell us all about how Christmassy it is, Ricardo?
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is the third installment in this comedy franchise, which centers itself around the Griswold family and the funny disasters they get themselves into. National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, was the first, which I have always loved. This was followed by National Lampoon's European Vacation, 1985, which I also find extremely funny, which brings us to the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Released in 1989 and directed by Jeremiah Chechik, who also directed 1993's Benny and June and the series Gossip Girl, Christmas Vacation sees the Griswolds preparing for the family Christmas celebration, but things never run smoothly for Clark, Chevy Chase, his wife Ellen, Beverly D'Angelo, and their 2 kids, Rusty, Johnny Galecki, and Audrey, Juliette Lewis. After months of careful planning, he invites his and Ellen's parents, and even his Uncle Lewis and his senile Aunt Bethany. He's so excited, as always, by it all, and Clark even prepares his house for Christmas with thousands of lights and a huge tree which doesn't even fit into his house. However, this year, Clark's noble aspiration for having the ultimate Christmas Eve celebration is tarnished by some surprise visits by relatives he dislikes, problems with his Christmas lights, to name a few. All the while, Clark is sweating on a large bonus from work, as he has already purchased a pool with the money he thinks he'll get, but maybe not. Now, this is my least favourite of the series, but I still find it really enjoyable at Christmas time. It still makes me laugh, and considering it was made in 1989, it really hasn't dated as much as you would think. Chevy Chase is just fantastic in this role. He was at the top of his comedic game at this time, and he's just fantastic. Greg, you're looking at me so weirdly. The same goes for Beverly D'Angelo. The chemistry between these two never falters in all the 3 films. And the late John Hughes wrote the screenplay here, and he was responsible for the hit comedies Planes, Trains and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Uncle Buck. And he's able to create quite a few standout moments that suit this series really well. Look, this is just so much fun, and it is a great Christmas film and does bring all the feels it should do. It's very rewatchable for me and quite a holiday season classic. Greg, what are your thoughts? Did this not bring the Christmas feels? No. Come on.
I think that's pretty much my review.
Hang on a minute. Had you seen any of these?
No, I hadn't.
Okay, so yeah. Okay.
And I acknowledge that lack of context. I did, after this, go back and watch about the first half of the first film.
Oh, it's great.
Look, let me declare my bias here.
Yes.
I'm not a Chevy Chase fan.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, I don't know when I last watched something he's been in, but he really reminded me of Jim Carrey, actually, in this.
Yeah,
There's
right.
a similar style of acting. I don't know if Jim Carrey, is based part of the way he performs on him or not. Got no idea. I liked him many, many, many years ago in Foul Play, the one he made with Goldie Hawn in about 79, 80, I think it was.
I also like Funny Farm.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's really cool.
I just don't like his style of acting and comedy. I find him a bit smug and a bit obvious and a bit hammy. And at the start of the film, when I think the first sequence, they go out in the car to pick up the Christmas
Pick
tree.
up the Christmas tree.
And he kept rolling his eyes and opening his eyes wide. And I was
Oh, I love it. I find that hilarious. See, his expressions. When I was growing up as a teenager in the early 90s, I was watching National Lampoon's Vacation, European Vacation all the time. That was one of our favourite sort of comedies we'd watch. And so I loved those. So I loved those characters. I just fell in love with those characters. And of course, as a teenager, there's some little Rudy bits in there as well in the earlier films. And even though it's lesser of the three, I still find it quite funny because I like the style of comedy that it's trying to do.
yeah, not so much. I thought there were two interesting aspects to the film. And I thought there were two laugh out loud funny moments.
Oh, you did laugh out loud at one point? You did?
I did.
Wow.
And maybe 2.5. And
2.5.
I hesitate to admit this.
Yes.
They all involve the harming of animals.
Yeah.
So I laughed at the electrocuted cat.
Yeah, yes.
Particularly at I think it was a burnt silhouette on the carpet of what used to be the cat.
Yes.
I laughed at the people running around with a squirrel clinging to their back.
Yes.
I mean, it was really stupid, but I laughed at that.
Well, that's meant to be stupid.
And I didn't really laugh, but I was amused by the turkey that wasn't.
Yes. Well, I loved it when he brings the Christmas tree home and and he lets it go and it just smashes through all of the house.
No,
they're so large.
I just saw those things telegraphed well in advance, and it didn't work for me. There were two interesting aspects of the film beyond where I did laugh. One was, I think you're right. I think the relationship between the husband and wife, Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, it does work, and I don't actually know, but I suspect it's because this is the third film they've done together, so they've built rapport and chemistry and a bit of history.
Yes.
As actors and also as characters, I suspect.
Yes.
So I believe that, and in fact, when I went back and watched the first half of the first film, I didn't like her performance as much. I feel like she grew into the character at the time. And the second thing was, and I can't for the life of me remember where this happened, but there was a point in the film, it might have been when Chevy Chase's character was watching the old family movies up in the attic. There was a point somewhere where actually he was doing something serious.
Yes.
He was emoting rather than trying to be funny.
Yes.
And at that point I thought, oh, this is a much more interesting actor than I have seen or was expecting. And then, of course, it moved swiftly to another joke. And I would have liked to have seen more of that. And it wasn't that kind of American mawkish sentimentality to kind of, leaven the jokes you often see in Hollywood comedies. It actually felt real.
Yeah.
And if they'd had more of that, and I think made him a more interesting character and toned him down from the more Jimmy Carrey-ish kind of stuff, which can annoy me as well, I think it would have been a much more interesting film. But no, it just
But
didn't
that's
work for me.
Clark. That's Clark. In all of the movies, he's so excited to be doing what he's doing. He's going on vacation. He's just excited all the time and wants to make it the best possible thing ever. But it just doesn't go to plan at all, and they could get themselves into a lot of scrapes.
But I hadn't realised it was directed by Jeremiah S. Chick.
Yes, he's made some really good movies.
That he had made. Well, he also directed a number of episodes of the TV series Chuck, which my family really likes. But I hadn't realised it was the same director as Benny and June, because Benny and June, of course, is the film that pays tribute to Buster Keaton. And I love Buster Keaton. In fact, I think we're going to be doing a Buster Keaton film in the upcoming season.
Yes, we are.
Yes. So I'll rave on about Buster then and my love for Buster. But, so, look, there were moments, but no...
But to me, you said it didn't bring the Christmas feels. It's all about Christmas. So the lights and everything, and I just find it. Oh, really?
No, I'm just trying to bolster it.
I think
because you're not convincing me.
No. But I think it does bring the Christmas feels. There's a lot. It does. It's like Home Alone, that sort of thing. It just brings the Christmas feels.
I don't particularly like Home Alone either.
Wow, Grinch.
Funnily enough, I'm using that word in our next film.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Look, I get it. It doesn't appeal to me. I understand why it appeals, I think. And I say there were moments where it was funny or it felt more real to me, but no, it didn't work for me particularly.
Okay, what are you going to give it?
And that's why I'm giving it a 5.
A 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very middle of the road based more on what kind of film I think it is rather than what I really got out of it. But
Yeah.
yes.
Look, I'm giving it a 6, right? I'm not giving it as
No,
high
I
as...
thought you might go to a 7.
No, I'm not going to go to a 7 because I think the earlier films are more of a 7. The first was probably an 8. But it's not... Look, once you get to know the characters, you'll enjoy it a bit. And it's like I said, it's not my favourite of the film, but I can watch it because I just like the characters.
Go Google it or ransack your DVD shelf if you've got a DVD shelf, or just, ring your mum or your sibling or whoever and ask them, what films have we really enjoyed together, because I'm reaching a bit.
Yeah.
And now I truly am a Grinch.
So the third film we're going to discuss is 1971's My Uncle Antoine.
Or en français, Mon oncle Antoine.
Perfect. Greg,
Should
take
do
it
the whole
away.
review
In French?
French
Yeah,
accent.
go for it. Yeah.
This 1971 French Canadian. No. And now everyone knows why I'm not an actor. Okay, or a filmmaker for that matter. Anyway, this 1971 French-Canadian film is set in a 1940s asbestos mining town in remote Quebec. Adolescent Benoit Jacques Gagnon lives and works in the local general store run by Antoine Jean Duceppe and Cécile Olivette Thibault. Benoit has two other colleagues, Carmen Lynn Champagne, a salesgirl his age, and Fernand, the sales clerk, played by writer-director Claude Jutre. Antoine doubles as the local undertaker. He's called out on Christmas Eve to collect a teenage boy's body from a distant snowy cottage and takes Benoit with him for the first time. Their sleigh ride there and back occupies the last half hour or so of this 1 3/4 hour film. Up until then, we see the life of this remote community centred around Antoine's two businesses. In fact, for me, that sleigh ride is probably the best metaphor for the film itself. Extraordinarily slow-moving for most of the way, with a few sleeps along the way, finishing with a sharp gallop at the end. This is supposed to be one of the great Canadian films and highly praised by American film critic Roger Ebert. That's why we chose it, because we wanted to get beyond just these, Hollywood mainstream Christmas films. But I just couldn't see much in this and was distracted by some of the amateurish acting, camera work, lighting and boom mic operation.
Yes.
Did you see the boom mic?
Yes, I did see the boom
during
mic.
a love scene.
Yes, I did.
And so I feel like the Grinch, but this film made little lasting impression. The exception was lead child actor Jacques Gagnon. He has one of those faces made for film, highly expressive and clearly taking in everything around him. He was found by director Jutre while hitchhiking and only made one other film. Jean Duceppe and Olivette Thibault are also good as the store owners, but their moments just weren't enough for me. This is also one of the least Christmassy Christmas films I think I've ever seen. Just give me a moment. I'm going to do it all around the microphone to ward off the evil Grinch spirits. So, Ricardo, did this film put you in the Christmas spirit?
No, not at all. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I was really quite looking forward to this one because, they've said it's the greatest French-Canadian film ever made. So I was looking forward to it because I was looking forward to a nice cinematic experience.
I said to you before, I was expecting something a bit like Cinema Paradiso, that warm-hearted, child looking back kind of film.
God, no, it's absolutely not. It's it bored me senseless.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to wonder, why is this called, My Uncle Antoine? Uncle Antoine's just a grumpy...
Well, he's not actually his uncle either.
He's not. It's not. But he's just a grumpy old man and a drunk.
Well, no, he has his moments, but overall, I
no,
agree.
he
has a few
there's
moments.
nothing to the title of the film.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. And
It's based on somebody's memoirs.
but what's the point of this film?
I'm completely with you.
What is the point of it? I just don't understand it. I was just sitting there watching it going, it took so long. There was one point where he just looked at a bottle of booze, young Benoit, right?
Yeah.
He was looking at a bottle of booze on that ride to fetch the body.
Yeah.
And he suddenly grabs it and takes a drink and then puts it back quickly and then that's over. I mean, it's these long sequences and...
I think 1 3/4 hours, you could have cut this down to about an 60 to 80 minute film.
Absolutely.
Cut out a lot of stuff and built up some of the kind of the vignettes, like the peeping Tom stuff. I mean, the snowball fight with the mine owners, pony trap thing went nowhere.
Nowhere.
I think there's probably levels to this film that you and I are missing because of its context in Canada, and it's showing the dynamics in that town, and maybe that means more people in Canada.
Possibly.
But it did not work for me.
It does not work for me. I was just sitting there going, why? Why
Yes.
why?
Yes.
Why am I watching this? What story is
And
here?
the final scene, like...
Oh, it just brings tries to bring it full circle, and it's just, why? Why?
It felt like that could have been a moment earlier in the film. It did not feel like the ending point.
Well, what is the story here?
I don't
honestly,
know.
what
really
is
don't
the
know.
story?
Well, I mean, I summarised
You
it.
did.
The story is that he's looking back on his early years and he starts to see the truth below the surface, the secrets people are hiding.
The kid?
Yeah, he does.
He does.
He finds out about the affair. He finds out about Uncle Antoine's, lifelong despair.
But who cares?
Well, that's exactly the point.
Because Mr. Antoine is not a great character.
No.
At all. Definitely not befitting of a title of a film.
Look, in fact, I've written down this exact point in my notes. I'm not sure what the point of the story was in the end. I just didn't. Yeah.
And I felt like I was sitting here going an hour and 45 minutes. I'm going, okay, where's the Christmassy? They had these Christmas windows they had to do.
Yep.
And that was it. And there was snow.
Well, what was interesting was there were parallels between that and our first film. They were both about people in a shop heading towards Christmas, and one of the highlights was getting the window display right.
That's right.
Yes, but chalk and cheese.
Chalk and cheese.
What did you think of the director playing Fernand? He was the co-writer and the director.
Oh, he did okay. It was fine. But why? Again,
yeah. I did like the scene where he was flirting with Aunt Cecile when they both had their pencils doing the accounts and so on. I thought that moment actually worked quite well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But there need to be more like that.
Yes. Oh, and I thought the moments, like there's moments which were quite real, when he sees he's a dead body for the first time and he's afraid to touch the feet when he's helping with the body.
But yeah, and again, one of the notes I wrote to myself is little moments don't make a film.
No, they don't.
And that was the problem here.
Absolutely.
Claude Jutre was one of the preeminent masters of Canadian cinema until about 6 years ago, where a journalist wrote a book sourcing a young actor who claimed that he had been groomed and interfered with over a period of time.
Oh, wow.
By Jutre. After Jutre himself died quite tragically, he had early onset dementia.
Yep.
And he knew this was happening, so he actually walked into the frozen river, St. Lawrence River, only at the age of about 55, 56, because he didn't want to go through that deterioration.
Wow.
And these stories only came out after he died. But it's a little bit like Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein, where these people who you really like, or maybe not so much Weinstein, but, like really used to like Kevin Spacey as an actor.
Yeah.
And you get hit with this problematic, can you enjoy the work of someone? Woody Allen's another one.
Yeah.
Can you enjoy their work when there are such, let's be kind and say, question marks over their moral character? And I think it's a vexed question here. For you and I, there's no such tension because we didn't particularly like the film.
No.
But there's a lot of stuff that's come out since, and as a result, a whole lot of things that were named after him, the major Canadian Filmmakers Award, various parks and gardens and streets named after him, all had their names changed very drastically, had a complete fall from grace.
Wow. I liked the relationship between Carmen and the little boy. I thought that was quite... And Benoit. I like that because he was growing up and she's growing up as well, and they have this sort of... little flirtations between each other, and I thought that was quite sweet. But that's about it.
See, even Carmen's backstory, you get a little inkling to it when her father comes to her wages.
She's having a shocking upbringing.
But you kind of get this moment about it, and then you get nothing else about it.
No, you don't. No.
She's a bit sad because her father obviously doesn't care the slightest about her. But then Antoine, demonstrates care for her by keeping back part of the money and says, that's definitely for her. That's the way this works.
Oh, that's the only part. That's the only part of the film which I thought, there's something about Uncle Antoine. You know what I mean? Like, it was just...
But again, you get the start of the story and then it just stops.
Yeah.
And so you don't really get a sense of who these people really are.
No, to me, I think the movie must have started when they were writing it, just with moments, and then moments, and let's just do this moment, and that's another really good
Well, there might have been
moment.
moments out of his memoirs.
But the story just wasn't played out really nicely at all, and I didn't know why it was. Where was the story going? What's it about?
Well, the whole thing, I feel like, what have I missed? Because someone like Roger Ebert really loves this film, and I just can't see it.
I can't see it either.
But it felt to me quite an amateur film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even some of the acting, like some of the... I'm sure they used real people in some of the crowd scenes in the shop and outside in the TV window, and that made sense. But the guy at the very start of the film, who was the foreman on the asbestos mine, he clearly couldn't act.
Yeah.
And then when that same truck driver character, Joe, goes to what looks like the workers' club, and he's talking to a couple of his mates, I imagine they're real people, and the guy he was speaking to, he clearly couldn't act. So, right, and then the camera work, and this is something you're usually much more tuned to than I am, but it was really quite odd. Like there was that scene in the workers' club, and then it zooms out the window on the church.
Yes.
It
was.
Kind of pan and
that's
stop.
right.
And
Yeah. It's old school filmmaking techniques, which are passé now.
Like, sometimes the lighting.
The lighting was.
ridiculously
I didn't love the
bright
photography.
indoors.
I did not love the photography in it, and I mean, there's a few different times where they went to point of view, when he's sitting with the. They've gone to their family's house where the teenager, 15-year-old, has died, and he's eating chicken and eating pork, I think it was, or chicken or pork. And they cut to a point of view of Benoit, and he's just, and it sort of goes sort of fisheye, lensy, and okay. Didn't impress me much at all, this film.
I found myself thinking very early in the film, the scene where there was the dead body, the first one, and they had all the family in there, and then they were... When everyone left the room, they were taking the pretend suit off him and taking down all the plastic flowers.
Yes.
And really manhandling that body.
That's right.
I found myself comparing that unfavourably with Departures.
Yeah, me too. I thought of that too,
This is
yes.
a Japanese film we reviewed a season or two ago.
Yes.
Where that is a film about the absolute reverence with which the body is treated. And that, in fact, is part of the grief process of the family.
Yes.
And that's not a critique of the film. It's a critique. It's a critique of the cultures that are being portrayed.
Yeah.
It was so different.
Yes.
And again, it was one of those moments where that was a bit interesting, and then it kind of just doesn't go anywhere.
Well, it went for ages.
Yeah.
Went for a long time.
I know. So, what are you going to give this film?
I'm giving it a 3 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 3 out of 10 as well.
Yeah, 3.
Hang on a second.
I don't know. I don't give films 3 out of 10s that often, but honestly, I was just sitting there going, why? Just why? Why am I watching this? Why do I care about any of these people?
I was seriously fighting sleep, and I was well rested, but I just kept nodding off.
Yeah, because everything was just so long and ugh. So let us know when we launch this on our socials. Let us know what you think. If you've seen this film, if it's a favourite of yours, let us know and just say, well,
available on YouTube.
Yeah, it is freely available on YouTube. And if you just let us know what you think, because it's meant to be the greatest French Canadian movie ever made.
A greatest Canadian film.
Yes, yeah. You might say, oh my goodness, how can you give that a review like that? Well, let us know. We'd love to have your thoughts on it and why you like it, because I can't see it.
No, I can't see it.
So that concludes our Christmas special of
our 8th Christmas special.
Is this our 8th Christmas special?
This one was 2015.
Yes, right.
Based on this particular episode, I'm starting to wonder if we scraped the barrel clean of decent Christmas films.
Yeah, it's hard to find, right?
I really struggled with these, I did.
Yeah, there's other ones I think, I mean...
There were other films we thought about, like the new Spirited, which is on Apple TV, or a great French film called Santa and Co.
Yeah, there's a good Australian movie out at the moment called Christmas Ransom, so we can...
I haven't watched that one yet.
Yes.
But there are good films that we would love to review, but they're not easily accessible, so we don't like to do that.
I think this is the thing. I mean, other years we've really felt the Christmas spirit with these movies, and I've felt that because as you're watching them, it's around Christmas time. We're doing this around Christmas. It feels like it just gets you excited for it. Just like when we did the Polar Express or one, it just makes you feel like there's Christmas.
It's a
this one
here,
here,
Sunburnt Christmas, Last Christmas,
absolutely,
Miracle on 34th Street,
all of those. But whereas this one here, the only one for me is Christmas Vacation. But the other two really, they're not. They don't bring that.
And it was a 0 out of 3 for me.
Oh, wow.
So let's move to hopefulness of the new year.
Yes.
Because we've got season 5 coming up.
Season 5 is coming very
Season
soon.
5.
Oh, very soon. So we're looking forward to launching another season.
Yep, we've got a few good films that we know we're going to be talking about.
That's
and we'll
right.
kind of discern some more as we go along. But,
Yeah.
look, we're always a bit excited about this.
That's right. So we're going to enter 2023 with a new season.
Early in the new year, isn't
yeah,
it?
early in the new year. That's right. So it's going to be wonderful, and we look forward to you listening.
And in the meantime, have a safe and happy and Christmassy film-filled break.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back in the new year.
Absolutely. So just Merry Christmas. Have a safe one, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Filmmaker Film Watcher.
Ho, ho, ho.